Welcome, friends, to our magical 30-day challenge. We are bringing you a new story every single day.
This is day 9. Like and subscribe to help us reach our 100,000 subscriber goal together. Once, there was a happy life until a cruel heart took over. But even in the cinders, a single wish remained, a magical night, a fated prince, but the spell break. Like, share, and subscribe. Hello, my friends. Today's story is one you may think you know. It is a tale of kindness, of cruelty, and of a love that was almost lost to the stroke of midnight. Once upon a time, in a beautiful chateau on a green hill, there lived a kind and gentle girl named Ella. For a time, her life was perfect. She had a loving father and a kind mother. Her days were filled with sunlight and laughter. But a shadow fell upon their happy home. The mother grew very ill. She lay in her bed, pale and weak. Ella, her heart breaking, sat by her mother's side every day. One day, her mother called her close. She knew her time was short.
My dear child, have courage.
She gave Ella
And
one
be kind.
final piece of advice.
Where there is kindness, there is goodness. And where there is goodness, there is magic.
And with those words, the good mother closed her eyes and passed away. Ella and her father were heartbroken. Years passed. The father, seeing his daughter was still lonely, decided to marry again. He believed his daughter needed a mother's care. His new wife was a woman of high society named Lady Tremaine. She was tall, proud, and very elegant. She arrived at the chateau with her 2 daughters, Drizella and Anastasia.
And this is my daughter, Ella.
At first, they were all very polite. But Ella's father had to travel for his work on a long journey by sea. And then, terrible news came. He too had passed away. Ella was all alone. The moment the news arrived, the true, cruel natures of the stepmother and stepsisters were revealed. They were horribly jealous of Ella's grace and gentle beauty. Lady Tremaine, cold and calculating, took over the chateau. She spent all of the family's fortune on herself and her own daughters. They bought expensive gowns and jewels. They threw lavish, wasteful parties. Soon, all the money was gone. The stepmother, in her cold fury,
Get out! All of you!
dismissed all the household staff. And she turned on Ella. She moved Ella from her beautiful room up to a tiny, cold, dark attic with only a straw bed. They forced the gentle girl to become a servant in her own home.
You will clean the floors. You will wash our laundry.
And you will fix us our breakfast.
From dawn until dusk, Ella worked tirelessly. She scrubbed the massive floors. She washed the heavy laundry. She cooked all their meals. Her only friends were the little mice who lived in the walls. And a few animals in the barn. But she never complained. She always tried to remember her mother's words. She always chose to be kind.
Where there is kindness, there is goodness.
Her only moment of peace was at night. After her work was done, she would sit by the dying embers of the kitchen hearth for warmth. One morning, she woke up there, her face smudged with soot and cinders. The stepsisters coming down for breakfast saw her. They laughed cruelly.
Look at her, so dirty from the cinders.
She is not Ella. She is Cinderella!
And from that day on, that is what they called her, Cinderella. One day, a royal decree arrived at every house in the kingdom. The king was holding a grand royal ball.
You are cordially invited to the Grand Royal Ball.
Why? So that his son, the prince, could find a bride.
By order of the king, Prince Alexander will choose his bride from the maidens of the kingdom at tonight's royal gala.
Every eligible maiden in the land was commanded to attend. The stepsisters were wild with excitement.
The prince, he will fall in love with me.
No, with me. I'm the one he will choose.
Girls, stop this squabbling. This is our chance.
And Cinderella's heart leaped with a tiny glimmer of hope.
Stepmother, may I go too? You? Go to the ball? In those rags? Don't be ridiculous. You may go if you finish all your chores and if you can find something suitable to wear.
Cinderella knew this was a trick, but she still had hope. After helping her stepsisters prepare, sewing their gowns and fixing their hair, she ran up to her cold attic room. She found her mother's old gown, a beautiful but simple dress. With a little help from her mice friends, she began to lovingly mend it. She dreamed of just a few hours at the ball. When she was finished, the dress was beautiful. She came down the stairs, her face hopeful. When the stepsisters saw her, their jealousy erupted.
My old ribbon! She stole my ribbon!
And my old beads. You thief! You thief!
They lunged at her. They ripped and tore at the beautiful dress. They destroyed it completely, leaving her in rags. They left for the ball with their mother, laughing at Cinderella's pain. Heartbroken, she ran to the garden weeping as if her heart would break.
There's no magic left. It's all gone.
But her mother was wrong about one thing. As her tears of pure, selfless sorrow fell to the ground, a soft, shimmering light began to glow. From it emerged a kind, sparkling, and slightly flustered old woman with a magic wand.
Now, dry your tears, my dear.
You can't go to the ball looking like that. We have work to do.
My goodness! Cinderella stared in disbelief. It was her fairy godmother. The fairy godmother got to work.
Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo.
With a wave of her wand, zap! She turned a large pumpkin into a magnificent white carriage. The mice became beautiful white horses. An old horse became a regal coachman. A loyal bloodhound became a uniformed footman.
Now for the dress. Stand up straight. Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo.
In a breathtaking swirl of silver sparkles, Cinderella's torn rags transformed into the most beautiful ball gown ever seen. It was a shimmering creation of starlight and dreams. And on her feet, a pair of delicate, magical glass slippers.
It's beautiful. But remember, this magic has a time limit.
On the stroke of midnight, the spell will be broken.
Everything will be as it was before. Now, go! Have fun!
When she arrived at the palace, a hush fell over the entire ballroom. No one had ever seen such a beautiful princess. The stepsisters, standing right there, didn't even recognize her. The prince himself, who had been bored all night, was instantly captivated. He walked past every other maiden and asked only her to dance. I knew. They danced for hours. It was magic. this? The world fading away around them. Lost in the magic of the moment, Cinderella suddenly heard a deep, booming chime. Dong! It was the first stroke of midnight.
Oh, I must go. Goodbye!
Wait! Please! I don't even know your name!
She fled from the ballroom. She ran down the grand palace staircase. In her haste, one of her delicate glass slippers fell from her foot. She had no time to stop for it. She leaped into her carriage just as the final stroke of midnight echoed. The carriage sped away, and the magic vanished. The heartbroken prince was left holding only the tiny, magical glass slipper. The next morning, the prince, who could not forget the mysterious princess, made a proclamation. He would marry the maiden, and only the maiden, whose foot fit the delicate glass slipper. The Grand Duke traveled throughout the kingdom. He went from the richest mansions to the poorest farms. Every woman in the land tried to fit her foot into the tiny shoe. At Cinderella's chateau, the two stepsisters tried with all their might. They pushed and shoved.
It fits! It fits! Ow!
But their clumsy feet were far, far too large. As the Duke was about to leave, Lady Tremaine, who had guessed the truth, locked Cinderella away in her attic room. But Cinderella's loyal mice friends heroically stole the key and freed her.
Wait!
Cinderella appeared at the top of the stairs just as the Duke was leaving.
Wait!
Wait! There is another!
Lady Tremaine, in a final act of cruelty, tripped him. The glass slipper flew into the air and shattered on the floor into 1,000 pieces. The Duke was in despair. Lady Tremaine smiled in triumph.
But sir, that was not the only one.
She reached into the pocket of her simple, ragged dress and revealed the other identical glass slipper. Lady Tremaine gasped in horrified defeat. The slipper slid onto Cinderella's foot. It was a perfect, magical fit. The prince, who had arrived just in time, was overjoyed. He had found his true love. Cinderella, being so kind, even forgave her stepsisters. She and the prince were married in a grand celebration. that filled the entire kingdom with joy.
Where there is goodness, there is magic.
Her mother's promise had come true. Through her courage and kindness, she had found her own magic. And they lived happily ever after.
Where there is kindness, there is goodness. And where there is goodness, there is magic.
Did you love this magical tale? Please like, share, and subscribe.
Friends, do like and subscribe channel.